Hello everyone. With me almost having 1,000 subscribers, I thought now was a good time to introduce my HO scale train layout. Eagle River and Kankakee is not just a YouTube channel, it is my freelance model railroad. I started it when I was about 8 to 10 years old. My dad was an avid railroader, avid model railroader, and I used to do things that, with him being super prototypical, didn't really jive with what he wanted. And then one day he said, if you want to run trains that way, then you should make your own railroad. And I said, all right, challenge accepted. So Eagle River and Kankakee are my two favorite fishing spots. There's absolutely no financial or transportation reason as to why there would be a railroad that would go between the two cities, but at 10 years old, it made sense to me, and that's all I really needed. The layout is 24 by 20. It is in a temperature-controlled room off the side of my house, which is really cool. The layout is single level. There will be a second level, but it only goes to one industry. There's no helix or anything like that. It just is a long downgrade to the one industry, which I have not even touched the second level of the layout yet, so I won't be covering that part. It is prototypical-ish, emphasis on the ish. If there's something I think is cool, then I tend to just do that. It is a largely GE locomotive fleet for the 6 axles and largely EMD fleet for the 4 axles. That being said, the railroad has started to pick up second and third hand 6-axle EMDs, such as these SD60Is that were sold from CSX to LTEX in real life. Also, a couple of the other ones, an SD40-2 here and there, things like that. But largely, if it is 6 axles, it is GE. If it is 4 axles, it is EMD. The main commodity is grain. But it really, I say that kind of in jest. Anything that I think is cool could end up on my layout. I'm really here more for the fun than the prototypical side of it. It is a ultra-modern layout. So all of the things here are modern. It is PTC compliant. I'm still setting up the DCC side of it. It will be a Digitrax system. But my original layout that I had at my family's house was DC, so it's a long conversion to convert all these engines into DCC, but that is the goal eventually. With that being said, I hope everyone enjoys, and I hope you have a fun time, and remember to like and subscribe. All right, so the first industry we're going to talk about is actually at the base of the peninsula that goes out into the center of the room. It's going to be a tractor factory. It's a Caterpillar tractor factory. It's going to be kit bash from 4 kits. It's going to be 2 Walthers hardware furniture kits. You can see one of them in the background there. And the other one's going to be the Walthers Ford assembly plant. I have 2 of those. If you look, you can see how long it's going to extend out. I have the pieces kind of laid out there. You can see it behind the coil cars. The factory itself is almost 9 feet long. So it's a pretty long factory for HO scale. There is a 3-track yard. Coil cars will be coming in from the CSX. I don't know if maybe like the Pittsburgh area or wherever they get their steel from. They'll get parts from the UP, and that's where those box cars are. They are all UP. The hardware furniture factory in the background there, that's going to magically turn into a tractor factory, has a port for loading and unloading box cars. So all the parts will be coming in from the UP and getting unloaded there. So it'll be loaded box cars in, empties out, loaded coil cars in, empties out, and then you'll see the flat cars there. Tractors will be going out from there, so it'll be empty flat cars in and loaded flat cars out. The shelf itself from the wall is 30 inches. The main reason why I'm doing a tractor factory, I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old son, and little kids like tractors. So I thought that'd be pretty exciting for them. And I modeled the Wisconsin-Illinois border. There was a really large Caterpillar tractor factory in Peoria, Illinois. I heard a rumor that it went out of business, but the pictures I found online said it was still up. That one is brown brick with some kind of light tan concrete trim. So the factory I'll be building will be kind of similar to that in terms of colors and such. But that is the Caterpillar tractor factory. Following the peninsula out, it is a 14-foot peninsula, so it's a real long straightaway, which I love. I think straightaways are really photogenic for HO scale layouts. This area here I waffled on quite a bit, kind of the left side of the peninsula, if you're looking at it the way I am right now. I originally had a station, and then I thought I'd just scenic it and put in some woods, and then I thought maybe another industry, and then I thought maybe a diamond. And what I ended up settling on was the Eagle River and Kankakee headquarters. It's going to be a combination of the Fowler Insurance Building and a Fowler office building. It should be really cool. It's going to be sort of modeled after when I was in sales. There used to be a company I went up to in Minneapolis, Minnesota that was kind of nestled into the woods back there. It was this really beautiful office building. It was brand new and shiny and all of that, tucked in the woods. So it was real pretty and really nice. I'm going to be kind of modeling that. So it'll be the Eagle River and Kankakee headquarters and kind of a training facility, which should be pretty nice. And that'll be about a 4-foot section or so that'll take up on the end of this peninsula. Moving over to the other side of the peninsula, or I guess the right side of the peninsula, there will be a divider down the length of this peninsula, so you won't be able to see the office building. You can see the black billboard right there, where that office building is going to be. There will be a divider down the middle, so you won't be able to see it. This scene here, though, is a scene that's very, very, very special to me. It's one of the scenes that I knew I mandatorily had to have. There's a bridge scene. It's going to be right here over a small river. And that river being the Wisconsin River, it's really a cherished spot for me up in Eagle River, Wisconsin. It's the starting point of the Wisconsin River, and my little brother and I used to fish there all the time. In real life, it's a highway bridge, but in my world, it's going to be a railroad bridge. So this whole area here is going to be scenery. There's going to be no industry, no buildings, anything like that. It's all going to be trees. The real life area I'm modeling has a big meadow. So you'll see trees along that wall there to hide the wall and hide the tunnel and the thermostat and all that. And then on this portion, it'll all be trees. But this area here in real life is a meadow. Remembering it's going to be a 2-track man. You only have the 1 track laid right now. So it'll be a double bridge there going over the Wisconsin River. And I'm sure I'm going to have 2 HO scale kids fishing. Just to kind of remember all those times I had with my little brother. It wasn't really the best fishing spot in the world. We never really caught any massive fish or anything like that, but the memories there and just laughing and giggling and telling stupid stories from that time in our lives is something I really wanted to have on our layout. So here we have the town of Duvall. It is very loosely based on Elmhurst, Illinois, which some of you might know. It's a relatively popular rail fanning hotspot. It's a fictional town based on, or located on the Illinois-Wisconsin border. The buildings in the front here, I originally had in the back area there, but I'd like to kind of block these windows. I opened them up so you can kind of see, it's not the best view ever out there. So I might be putting some skyscrapers in there. There's some 3D printed ones available on eBay. They're really expensive though. So I'm on a teacher budget. I'm not totally sure if I'm going to do that, but definitely up for some different opinions on that one. If you have one, go ahead and leave it in the comments as to what I can do there. The short buildings here don't really block any sight lines, so I'm pretty much okay with them, to be honest, being right there. You'll notice 2 holes in the wall there. The one on the right connects to the peninsula via a duck under. The one on the left I'll cover a little bit later. Over here, you have the Duvall Fire Department. Duvall is a very safe town, safety first, of course. So we had to have the Duvall Fire Department. When my wife's uncle is a retired fireman, came down here, his first question is, where's your fire department? So had to go ahead and fix that whole situation. Then rather ironically, next to the air conditioning, the window unit right there, you will see the Duvall hockey rink. That is a couple of Walther's rolling mills I kit bashed together. I realize the fact that a rolling mill is not exactly going to be the best place for a hockey rink because there's almost no insulation, but we're going to go ahead and pretend it's my world, not a reality world. The front of that is the front portion of a Walther's assembly plant, the Ford assembly plant. I had 2 of them from the factory, the tractor factory I built, so I got to use the extra one there to make the front portion of a hockey rink. I'll go ahead and put the interior in there at some point. I was able to scoop up a little hot dog stand, so that's kind of cool. That set of tracks there, they're not laid down. I just kind of taped it out so I can see where it's going. They have concrete ties. That's going to be street running. That's going to go into that small hole in the wall there. Like I said, I'll cover that in a little bit. Right here, I have a station. If you have a town, you have to have a station. Again, going with that safety first, we got some police activities, so None of you ne'er-do-wells shall be in my fictional town here. I also have a diner that is going to be a permanent location. It's not going to be on rails or anything like that. And with me coming from an Irish background, I was able to scoop up a plaque here off of Etsy. So that'll be the Shamrock Cafe, where people can grab coffee and donuts and such before they hop on the train. So that part should be pretty cool. And then I do have my rock or stone train set up here. I got about 15 cars or so. Hoping to get about 10 more. The majority are Bowser 110 cars. There are a couple of the Walthers Proto 100-ton cars added in there. This will be a double track main. I haven't laid the second track yet, so that's one of the two mains. I realize it's going to be a little crowded in there with tracks. You're going to have two main lines pretty much right next to some street running, which isn't super prototypical. But it's not a super prototypical layout, so that should fit in just perfectly fine. So once again, that's Duvall, a fictional town on the Illinois-Wisconsin border that's kind of loosely based off of Elmhurst, Illinois. And with me being an avid hockey player, I really needed to have a hockey rink in there as well. So that is my HO scale hockey rink. It goes, I believe it's 7 feet long, if I remember correctly. I don't know what the dimensions of that of an actual rink. The actual rink is 100 feet by 200 feet. So you could actually, 200 feet by 80 feet. So you could probably fit a couple in there. So we'll do it like a park district type of rink or something like that. Maybe it got donated from the steel mill after they left. Maybe they donated the property or something to that effect. But that is Duvall, my fictional town. One thing I did forget to mention in Duvall, my younger brother was nice enough to find an HO scale Chase Elliott NAPA Auto Parts car. I poked around online, found a really cool one. It was 3D printed for a really inexpensive price. So in the Duvall town, you'll have a NAPA Auto Parts, and then as luck would have it, Miller Engineering came out with a light-up sign, so that's pretty cool. And then I was at a secondhand store a little while ago and came across another one. It's only $7. It's a Dodge one. I don't know what I'm going to do with this area if I pan back a little bit. This area right here, I've waffled back and forth a zillion times. Maybe a car dealership, since I got the cool Dodge car. Maybe a Dodge dealership. I don't know. I haven't quite decided on what I want to do in there, but if somebody has an idea, I'm all ears. And now, through the magic of recording, we transition from daytime to nighttime. This area here is going to be the engine house and fueling facility, maintenance facility, and all that, where the E&K locomotives are worked on. I'm not going to go a whole bunch of detail into this section because I've done very little work on it right now. I've waffled between a 2 and 3 stall engine area. It'll be 3 tracks for sure, but one of them might be outdoor, or maybe they parked stored locomotives or something like that. But pretty simple. It's going to be an engine house and some fueling tracks and maybe a maintenance area or something like that, some maintenance vehicles. Nothing too wild and crazy. You'll notice, though, that along the wall is a different piece of wood. That's because that piece of wood is actually a 1x4 that's removable. That is where the access to the lower level of the layout will be. So there'll be a divider there, a wall or something. I haven't quite decided yet. Where trains can go down to the lower level without really being seen. I don't need a helix because I'm not going down very far, and I'm only going down to one factory. It's going to be a chemical plant, so I really wanted to keep that part minimalistic. Some of the E&K locomotives, almost all of them are painted in proper E&K livery. I only have a couple of patch jobs, the two most popular being one that I just recently completed, a Susquehanna SD70M. I found out that in 2013 these were stored, and then in real life they were sold to the NS in 2014, and I figured I needed them more than the NS, so I went ahead and grabbed them, according to my rules anyways. So this one has been E&K property for a while, and then this is one that everybody seems to really like, which is an Atlas GP40. It is Idaho Northern and Pacific. In real life, these were, when the Idaho Northern and Pacific went out of business, they were sold to a leasing company, and then they got abandoned in the desert in California, and I came across a video of them, and it was like finding a lost puppy. I just know I knew I had to have one, so I went ahead and bought an Atlas GP40, custom painted it, so that is all completely painted by me and all that, and then patched it out, weathered it as the prototypes that are in the California desert were. So it's basically as if it went straight from the California desert to the E&K. I do have my newest purchase, which is really cool too. I'm really excited about this, CFE 3316. It's cool for two reasons. One, now I can connect to the Genesee, Wyoming. I don't know if I'm going to do the CF&E. I'll keep it a CF&E engine. But in real life, about a week after I bought this engine, I found out it had been real life shipped away from the CF&E because they purchased used -8s from CSX. But this engine was really important to me because if you go back into my previous videos, you see that I've seen this engine before, about a year ago. So when it came out through Athearn, I knew I had to have it. I'll get it weathered up to the prototype. And for those of you wondering, no, the TV is not going to be there a long time. It'll be mounted on the wall up there in the corner. The TV is not HO scale, and I do not plan on making a giant drive-in theater. So that TV will be mounted up in the corner there. It will not stay there long term. The engine house will go back farther, probably right about where that TV is. So this right here is one of the parts I knew I had to have when I built the train layout. It is a grain elevator. It's going to be substantially larger than that. When I went to a train show, I was able to grab that piece of a train elevator for a song. It's a Walthers ADM train elevator, like pretty much every HO scale layout seems to have. But the one I'm doing is going to be substantially larger. I don't mean by depth, but I mean by length. I want it to be a massive grain elevator. For a couple of reasons. One, they're really cool. And two, I've collected over the years about 50 of these Welch grain cars. So it's going to be a Welch grain elevator. The prototype is located in Elkhart, Illinois. And I'm modeling this very, very loosely after Elkhart, Illinois. It's about as south as my layout's going to go, to be honest. Into Elkhart, Illinois. But I have 50 cars that are Welch grain. I also have approximately 50 that are ER&K grain cars, whether they be ER&K proper or if they're patched out into ER&K. I only have a couple on the layout because otherwise the layout would just be too cluttered. But you get kind of the idea. So this is a very, very basic mock-up. Like I said, I was able to get this for a song, so I just used it as kind of a mock-up. The loading area is actually from the Medusa cement plant, so that won't match up at all. I do have a couple of things to work through on this, though. One of them being back there where I have my grain switcher, which is loosely based on a prototype. The real LLPX 2228 is a former Belt Railway GP38, but it is a non-dynamic brake version. So this one, I kind of just threw it together. Got some decals off of Fusion, and it worked out perfectly. So I love it, and if you're Mr. or Mrs. Prototype, then you can go ahead and keep that to yourself. But I have my switcher there. I haven't quite decided if I want to have 1 or 2 storage tracks behind the elevator. I do have room back there, so right there I can hold almost 10 cars. So if I did 2 tracks, I could do 20. And then I could do storage and pulling out a train from storage, which would be really cool. So I do have that option. However, if I do that, I have to move the grain elevator closer to the 2 main lines here. That piece of blue tape would be where it would go. And I'm a little nervous because then the loading would be like right next to the 2 main lines. And I don't know if I really want to do that. That would make it pretty cluttered. So I'm not totally sure if I'm going to do that. I might just extend that storage track all the way to the back and have about 15-ish cars where I could do storage on. So I'm not totally sure. I have a lot of options on that one. One thing that is really cool, though, the train's led by ER&K 4460. My dad, who passed away years ago, was a avid model railroader. He was a Milwaukee Road guy. But he did an engine, he did a layout, I should say, through the Make-A-Wish Foundation for a child with a terminal illness. And my brother and I helped him with it, and it was a really, really, really eye-opening and cool experience. So when he passed, I knew I had to do something for him. And this is the engine I did as a memorial for him. So I always kind of have that one in my mind, pulling ER&K grain train. I don't know if you want to do like the whole symbolism or whatever, but he kind of always brought the bread home for us. So the grain train bringing bread home. It's cheesy, I know, but for whatever reason, it just kind of makes sense to me. And then it's helping out with an SD60M that I'm working on. It's still missing a whole bunch of parts and such. So that train's not going anywhere because that engine doesn't have a fuel tank. So that one's kind of stuck there for a while. This area here I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on for a couple reasons. One, there's gonna be no switching or anything back there. I could maybe, if I really, really wanted to force it in there, but it's a long ways back there, and I feel like the reaching would just be a problem. So I ended up building was an abandoned plastics factory for two reasons, really. This is the worst lighting in the room, largely because of the heater. And while the heater is absolutely wonderful, if you live in the Chicagoland area like I do, and it is 18 degrees outside Fahrenheit, the heater is amazing. However, it really does not do well for lighting in this area. And with it being kind of a darker area, I decided to do an abandoned plastics factory. It's named after Daggett. So if you look right there and see the sign, Daggett Plastics, which was Blair Line product that I weathered and all that. And that right there is Roland Daggett, seeing over his failing empire. If you know anything about superheroes, Roland Daggett is Bruce Wayne's arch nemesis. So, I don't know, went ahead and did that. In the front area here is going to be a maintenance of way area. So you'll see I have some snow plows and such. I'll get a garage or two and maybe a fueling area for the E&K fuel truck there, park a couple of trucks. That'll really be scenery only, to be honest. And then just to prove that not all of my trains are E&K, I do have my CPKC potash or phosphate train. Potash. I have quite a few of those covered hoppers. They will go to the fertilizer plant. That'll be on the lower level at some point. But just wanted to prove everybody that I don't have an entirely E&K layout. So if you follow the street running portion of the layout through that small tunnel, this is what you get to. This is my wife's paper plant. She's a reading teacher. She was nice enough to let me build a big giant layout. So I dedicated a paper plant where they print books for her to use to teach on, or teach with, I should say. This is not the entirety of it. I have the Walters tire plant. I'm going to be turning that into the paper plant and kit bashing it. It goes almost all the way to the back wall. If you look, you can see that little piece of blue tape back there. That's where it ends, which is great because there's 2 or so tracks of storage. That's where I can put the 15 or so wood chip hoppers I have, the Walters Canadian National wood chip hoppers, which are brought in. And then I have a couple of storage tracks and yard tracks and all of that. The 4 tank cars there will be where the different chemicals and stuff are unloaded. I have a bunch of covered hoppers carrying aluminum sulfate, which is used in paper making, I should say. And then 50-foot box cars, largely because I like the regular size 50-foot box cars. There is a main line here, or a branch line, I should say, and that's where that little piece of straight track is. There's going to be an S curve that curves through here into the hole in the wall. It's going to be a really tight S-curve, but it goes to nothing, so I'm not really too concerned about it. It's not like I'm going to be running mainline traffic through it or anything like that. But that is my wife's paper plant known as Tree Star Printing. Those of you that are Land Before Time fans will understand that reference. Right here we have my kids' favorite part of the layout. They call this the bridge. It is a very, very long but very, very thin duck under. It has 4 tracks. The 2 with the white pins are the main lines. The green pinned one is actually serves multiple purposes. It is the entrance to the grain elevator. So if I pan up a little bit, you can see the grain elevator down there. It is very, very long. It goes all the way past the engine house and maintenance facilities. The entrance to it will be right about where that tunnel motor is, the CFE one. However, that being said, it will also continue and be the street running portion of the layout. So it's actually going to serve multiple purposes. It can do transfer jobs. So if I want to switch some cars onto there to be picked up by the E&K and then switch some cars off there to be picked up by a different railroad or maybe another E&K train, I can do that. It is actually 27 feet long. So I can also use it to store a unit train if I need to. But like I said, I'll have a bunch of different purposes. And then the blue pinned one is actually the entrance to the yard feed. So there will be a yard. The yard's going to be on the other side of that wall. I'm not going to be filming that today for a couple reasons. The main one being it's my garage, and it is a non-heated garage, so it's really cold in January in the Chicagoland area. 2, I've done 0 work on the yard, and 3, my garage is a mess. So for those 3 reasons, I won't be filming that part. But you can see one of the trains coming out of the quote-unquote yard. Cool thing I'm doing is that's going to be, you'll notice a tunnel motor there. That is going to be a E&K purchase of HLCX 6142. So if you look up the pictures of that, you can see what that's going to be looking like, but it'll be an E&K proper livery. But that is my long and thin duck under. So that's it for the ER&K layout so far. It's always a work in progress. With me being a middle school science teacher, it's a little bit of a slow progress when you're doing all of it on a school teacher budget, especially with 2 little guys running around. So it is a slow project. Before, just so everybody has a heads up, everything you see on here that's weathered was weathered by me. I do custom painting and custom weathering in HO scale. If you look up Weasel Weathering on Facebook, that's me. So you can see all of my work there. If you have any questions or any suggestions, please leave a comment. I am not the person who gets offended if someone says, you know, have you thought about doing this? Or have you maybe tried doing that? One thing I will say though, if you're one of the people who says, well, a real railroad wouldn't do that, or that doesn't make real financial sense for a railroad to do that, I get that. I'm here to have fun. I'm not here to write a thesis on United States capitalism and railroading. So if you want that, you're probably looking for a different channel. But for me, I'm here to have fun. I hope you are too, and I hope you had fun watching my video. And stay safe out there.